Can Battlefield stop Fortnite in its tracks? Will the die-hard PUBG audience be swayed by Firestorm's destructive tour de force? These are the questions I've been pondering while racking up the kill count in Battlefield V's open beta, and I'm convinced that I may soon be addicted to yet another Battle Royale. The first details have emerged around the Royale mode that will feature in Battlefield V, with EA explaining that Firestorm will have a unique focus on iconic Battlefield squad play and vehicular combat. And while I've never really found team play in Battlefield to be particularly iconic, to be honest, the nature of tight squad-based Royale should finally mean that I can play Battlefield with my buddies as the developers clearly intended. While the game itself is developed as usual by DICE, the Royale mode has been taken on by Criterion, makers of Burnout and various other racing titles. They're certainly not to be sniffed at, with an average Metacritic score of 81, but racing games are different beasts to multiplayer shooters, so it'll be very interesting to see how this pans out and whether it was a good decision to outsource the work. As with PUBG and Fortnite, there's the classic ever-shrinking playing field with fire, yes, fire this time round, representing the fog of death, and I do wonder whether this will be done in a more realistic way, or maybe as over the top as possible. I'm not sure it really matters as long as it's fun, but Battlefield has always tried to behave all grown up, so it's a comfortable wager that will probably be more PUBG in style than Fortnite. A big difference between Firestorm and its rivals is with the player count, with support for 64 players in 16 squads. This makes sense from a server perspective, as Battlefield has always historically offered up this very number, but it's noticeably lower than PUBG and Fortnite. Even Call of Duty Blackout will support 80 players. But having said this, I probably wouldn't grab your pitchfork at this stage, as after all, surely we want something that's different to what's already on the market, and heck, who says more is better? After all, we've seen non-stop complaints of server issues with PUBG, and Battlefield 4, even with 64 players, could barely cope at launch. I guess this is an area of wait and see. It's also been confirmed that Battlefield-style destruction will be joining the genre, and while specifics have not yet been discussed, this will almost certainly mean destroyable cover and collapsible buildings, so no more camping in tiny desert huts it seems. Speaking on the size and scale of the map, not that much is known, other than it's going to be the biggest Battlefield map to date, and bearing in mind the scope of Caspian Border in Battlefield 3, I guess this means it will be pretty big. As the genre suggests, you'll be parachuting into the map with nothing other than a knife and clothing, and then it's up to you to hunt out weapons and armour and various different supplies for survival, and they'll all be found at different locations. The Battlefield spin to this is the conquest-style objectives that will be dotted around the map, perhaps similar to PUBG crates that are used to gain the most valuable weapons, armour and vehicles. The Battlefield spin here is the conquest-style objectives that will be dotted around the map, perhaps similar to PUBG crates, in which they're going to be used to gain the most valuable weapons, armour and vehicles. Some will be in fixed locations, and others will be random between games. Of course, this wouldn't be a Battlefield game without those vehicles, and it's bound to make a very interesting twist for Battle Royale. But as with Call of Duty Blackout, I think the developers are going to need to be very careful to nail the balance, as the idea of a long-range tank shell ending your game after 30 minutes of careful grinding sounds like an absolute nightmare. So far, there's only been the Panzer tank and transport vehicles confirmed, but I'm sure there is plenty more news to come. Player progression has been outlined but not clearly detailed, though the news that there's going to be a pre-order bonus for a clothing, knife and goggle set suggests that there is going to be customization and unlocks with probably cosmetic microtransactions to boot, though loot boxes are well and truly gone. So that's what we know so far about Firestorm. Not a huge amount to go on, but perhaps enough to give us a good idea about what to expect. Now for me, I'd say that overall I really liked playing the open beta. The gunplay feels improved, the graphics are outstanding, and the destructive nature of Battlefield Bad Company 2 seems to be making a return. But every time I've booted up the game, I can't help but feel a little tired of the usual formula, and games can be a little hit and miss for me in terms of outright fun. Some are really enjoyable, while others I just seem to die as soon as I spawn. Clearly I am still addicted to that Royale flavour. So the question is why? Well, PUBG is my bread and butter go-to Royale as it has been for the last 12 months. It created the addictive formula that we all know and love, and the feeling of every second counting is unquestionably the reason why. Death means the end. Game over. And when you've invested 40 minutes, the tension is unlike anything else I've ever experienced in a video game. Compared with Fortnite, it's definitely slower paced, despite the addition of vehicles. But this works to my playstyle, and it allows the tight team coordination that makes squad-based games such fun to play. There's also the question of balance, something PUBG actually handles pretty flawlessly in my book. Sure, you might get a bit unlucky with the randomized loot, but generally speaking, there's very rarely a game I feel hard done by. Then of course there's the map selection, with PUBG having 3 separate maps to play across, with a 4th snow map coming later this year. Having multiple distinct maps to play across helps keep the game fresh, and it seems to be working, as while Fortnite is certainly taking over the world, PUBG is anything but dead. But PUBG is far, far from perfect. Yes, it's a lot better now than it was at launch, but it's still very buggy, with issues that range from subtle texture flickering all the way to game-ending server issues. Maybe this is just down to the nature of a 100-player game, but even almost 1 year after its official release, it's still not completely fixed, and there's even a Fix PUBG campaign firmly in effect. And perhaps these issues have caused a surge of players to jump ship, or maybe the $26.99 UK price tag is just not that accessible and it's too much for people to risk. Regardless, you can't help but be impressed by the momentum of Fortnite. It really has a lot of charm, and even if you're a die-hard PUBG player, surely you've got to crack at least a smile at the artwork and animation. It is a faster paced game for sure, which does make it a bit easier to chain back-to-back games and maybe makes it that little bit more addictive, and you do lose some of the franticness of PUBG with brightly iconed guns and preloaded weapon pickups whenever you land, which has always annoyed me a little bit. But the game is a lot of fun, and it is completely free. There's a version on every modern console, so it's accessible for all, it's very friendly for streaming on things like Twitch, and thanks to the microtransactions, it's not going anywhere anytime soon, as it makes the developers a lot of money. The only thing you really need to worry about, it's not hackers or system stability, it's just mastering the build system, which requires just a tad of muscle memory. So that's all well and good, and it outlines just why Battle Royale has been a big success. But the question here is whether Battlefield can step in and its Firestorm mode can compete. It's definitely an interesting one, as can you have too many Royales? Perhaps, but I'm very keen to try it out. As a PUBG player, it could well be the holy grail of realism and fun, and I imagine that I'll be finally playing the squad game that Battlefield has always wanted to be. The gunplay is undeniably excellent in Battlefield V, and it's something that has been refined for years. PUBG does have its own uniqueness that I've begun to appreciate, but will we see the grown-up flavour of PUBG maybe mixed with the stability of Fortnite perhaps? I think that the vehicle aspect is definitely the most interesting, as I'll be completely honest, I'm a little fearful on the impact it will have. We all know what a quick tank death can feel like, and in a Royale game it could be completely devastating, game-breaking, smash your computer monitor in anger, game-breaking. But then again, a couple of mines and an RPG are probably the perfect counter, so maybe it will work flawlessly. I definitely also like the idea of the conquest points, as they're essentially just amped up airdrops, and as long as it's not essential for you to win the game by visiting them and you can choose where you want to go and play your own game, I think it will be a very cool addition to the Battlefield package. On the map front, I'm definitely very keen to see what we'll be working with, as the largest Battlefield map ever is just a little bit too vague. 64 players as well on certain Battlefield maps have always felt a little bit too few as well, and the map has felt quite empty, so it will be very interesting to see how this plays out. The biggest issue I think I see for Firestorm is that accessibility, as this is a full price game and obviously you will get more game modes, but as a Royale it's infinitely more expensive than free to play Fortnite, and at launch it will be double the price of PUBG. Then you throw in the fact that the game has been delayed until the 20th of November, which is after Black Ops 4, and you may find that some players are just unwilling to give it a try. And interestingly, this news actually lowered EA's share price a fair bit, which for shareholders like myself maybe casts a doubt on how well the game will perform during the busy Christmas season. It's all very intriguing stuff, and I'm definitely very keen to give it a try upon release. But what do you guys think about Firestorm? Do you think it will compete with the big boys, and did you enjoy the beta? Let me know down in that comment section below, as I'm always very interested to hear your thoughts. If you have enjoyed this video, hit the like button, and do get subscribed for more PC gaming videos. A massive thank you to Asus ROG for sponsoring the channel as always, a massive thank you to you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.